Hello everyone, welcome to UniVoyage. This is Vedika, and today we have a very special guest here. So we have Debarnab here, who is IPMAT IIM Indore Air 1, also my junior. This is a very great and big achievement, and I'm sure that he's put in a lot of efforts for this. So today we're going to be asking him questions so that he can help you with more relevant advice now that he's cleared the exam and topped it. So, a couple of achievements that he has under his belt is that he has cleared IPM IIM Rohtak's exam. He got a call for the Ranchi interview. He has also secured Air 21 in JIPMAT, and he got a SAT score of 1530. He has two 800 subject test scores in, I think, math and chemistry, if I'm not wrong, and he comes from the Cambridge board. So he secured 10th 91.14% and in 12th and 88.5%. And this is a big achievement because in Cambridge he got a clean streak of A's and A stars in both his years. So I think that's a big mega achievement. But Debarnab, tell us something about you apart from all these academic achievements.
Yeah, so thanks, Vedika, for this overwhelming introduction that you did. So I'm Debarnab Chatterjee, and I come from a small town in West Bengal called Shuri. It's about 200 kilometers from Kolkata. So as Vedika mentioned, I was part of a Cambridge affiliated school. Apart from academics, I'm also interested in writing. I'm a passionate writer. I maintain my own blog. Apart from that, I also love playing cricket. It's just a hobby, but yes, it's something I really love doing. It's something I enjoy. I also love photography, and yeah, so that's a brief intro about myself.
All right. So I wanted to now dive right into the interview and the questions. And my first question to you is a very standard question that a lot of aspirants have is that how did you manage your board exam preparation and the IPMAT IIM Indore preparation?
Yeah. So here I would like to make one small note, and that is a lot of the Indian board exams got cancelled this year, but I was from the Cambridge board, and we had our examinations during the months of February, March, when COVID was on a low ebb throughout the country. So I actually had to write my board exams. So my preparation strategy was actually quite simple. So one point I would like to mention is often people think that board exams and IPMAT preparation are totally uh, unrelated and independent of each other. But I don't think that's true. I think it's a kind of a myth that needs to be dispelled. Both if somebody who is really preparing for one thing very earnestly, I think that that slowly slips into the other preparation as well. So I think that worked for me also. So preparing for my boards or preparing for IPMAT, helped each other. And it was a quid pro quo between them, I think. So I think what my preparation strategy was that I started my IPMIT preparation around the months of July, August of 2020, and till the months of December or so, I covered almost all the topics that are tested, and then I kind of took a sabbatical, you can say, from my board exam preparation. From my IPMIT preparation, and dived into my board exam preparation more seriously. So I did solid preparation for my board exams in the months of January, February, and mid March when my board exams ended till about that time. And then I again got back to my IPMAT preparation, and then it was just IPMAT preparation till the last moment of the exam. So I think that is how I kind of managed it. But it is to be noted that again, in the months of July to December, when I said I was doing my IPMAT preparation, I also used to study some of the subjects that I had from my class 12. So yeah, and that was pretty much how I managed both my board exams and my IPMAT, simultaneously.
All right, thank you for that insightful answer. I have another question for you, Debarnab, which is that what role do you think mocks played in your preparation?
Yeah. So personally, I did not take too many mocks, to be honest. So I was attempting quite a few examinations. I had IPMAT Indore, I had IPMAT Rohtak, I had JIPMAT. So I, for all the three exams combined, I probably attempted 8 to 10 mocks overall. Uh, so but I would never downplay the role of mocks because mocks are very important. You are constrained within a certain time limit and you have to solve the sums. You have to go about it in a very systematic way. And I think that systemizes you, that familiarizes you with the actual, what you're actually going to face on the day of the exam. So your time management becomes better. You know how to approach sums. You know your own weaknesses, your own strengths in managing time. So I think mocks are very important. Personally, why I attempted less mocks, I think I used to do a lot of sums generally in a very timed fashion. So if I was, let's say, doing sums from the chapter of series and summation, I'll be doing maybe, I'll try to keep myself in a time. I'll time myself such that I do every sum within 1.5 to 2 minutes. So if you can diligently do that practice, it gives you essentially the same flavor as a mock does. So I think, yeah, so that's my take on mocks.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And now I have another question for you, which is what role did your school play in your preparation? Because you have mentioned that it did play a major role. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So, my school played a stupendous role in my preparation, honestly speaking. So, our school focused a great deal on skill building over just academic rigor. So, from a very young age, we were encouraged to read storybooks, write, solve math. So, I think these are some of the key skills which are focused: communication, both verbal and written communication, having good ability to understand written text, so the reading comprehension, having the ability to do quantitative sums fast, the basic sense of mathematics. So I think the skill building really helps. So after a point when you are actually up for a challenge like IPM80, you can scale it much better. So that was obviously, the biggest thing that played a role. But apart from that, for IPM80, I think our the principal of our school, he used to take our classes personally, and he used to teach maths in a fascinating way. So maths actually came live when he used to teach us, and I think that way my own concepts got built very well, and I really engaged with the maths that I was doing. So it was never like rote learning, or it was never something that was very distant. I enjoyed doing what I was doing, so that I took a lot out of it, and I think that really helped me. So yeah, my school has been a momentous role to play in this achievement of mine.
okay, so this I think would be a message to all the aspirants to get out there and try and take initiative for different things apart from their set curriculum as well, and they can do that in their space also. So I think that that is something that they can take away from this. Now I have a question for you, which is that can you give the aspirants quant specific and verbal specific advice? What exactly should they do for these two sections?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just say what I personally feel. It is subjective. Every person who has cleared IPM80 has prepared for the sections in a different way. So I'll just tell you what I personally did. So for quants, I did a lot of sums. I probably did couple of thousand sums in the entire duration of my preparation. So every topic I'll be trying to learn the concepts. I'll be and see, learning concepts actually helps. You don't have to mug up some shortcuts, some tricks, that sort of thing, some heuristics. You learn the right way, and then when you're approaching a sum, you know where exactly you can attack it, and you know the easiest way to scale that sum. So I think that was my take on quantitative. So I used to really try to imbibe concepts, and I did a lot of sums, as I told. So I that timed way of doing sums really helped me. So that was about the quants, and for math, sorry, for English, the verbal part. Uh, I personally don't did not really like the synthetic way of preparing for verbal. I thought it was a more organic process. I love reading storybooks and writing, as I mentioned to you. So that way, at some level, my English skills were good, and it's a long duration preparation. I think the English part. So if you have been reading a lot, you get basic senses. You understand the language English. Then you don't have to address specific areas in the question paper. Let's say paraexamples, you don't have to solve 100 sums. You have a sense that, okay, this is how the sentences flow. So that is how I did. And even for, let's say, something like vocabulary or idioms and phrases, if you have read a lot of books, if you have checked the difficult words that you have encountered in the process, then I think you just your repertoire of words actually expands quite significantly. So that way you're more equipped, and then you don't have to turn to a specific vocabulary book, for example. So I think, yeah, that's my advice for verbal.
All right. So I think something that aspirants can take from this is that there are all different kinds of preparation that are out there. And if you feel that an organic way is something that suits you, then well and good for you. And if you feel that you really need to go out there and do a very topic targeted practice, then that is also something that a lot of aspirants do. So it's completely subjective and on you. And thank you for what you said about the quant section as well. I'm sure that people have a lot to take away from that. I have now another question, which is that what resources slash books should people refer to, and what did you do during your preparation?
Yeah, sure. So my again, my school had a very big role to play here. They had created a vast expanse of resources for us to use. A lot of sums, lot of English material. So a lot was taken from there. But apart from that, something that is accessible to everybody, talking about that sort of resources, I think for maths, I actually went a little beyond what IPMAT demands. So I tried to solve the entire pre-calculus section of JE maths. So I think that was, you know, familiarized with much more difficult sums than actually comes on the paper. And learning that and trying to do that in a time fashion actually, I think, helped my preparation much more, strengthened my quantitative abilities much more. So that was something that I did. For the arithmetic part, I used a couple of CAT books because I think CAT, banks quite heavily on arithmetic. So I used a couple of CAT books and used those resources to learn those. Again, do a lot of sums because doing sums is really the most integral part after you have mastered the concept. So that, and for English, as I said, I didn't do any dedicated preparation. The preparation, I think, is lifetime, and it happened throughout every news article I did, every small text I did. I think that contributed to my English preparation.
Okay, awesome. If you had to tell someone, and I feel that everyone has very different takes on this. I have a very strong opinion on this, but I would like to know what your opinion is. If someone asked you that how much time should they give on a daily basis, or how many months should they prepare for the exam, what would you advise?
Yeah, again, I have a very strong opinion on this. So I think that, I mean, personally, I didn't have a very set schedule for myself. I think I just went about it as I felt like. If you go into a rut, if you have created a very fixed schedule for yourself, and then you get into the regimented lifestyle, I think after a point you probably go into a rut, and then you don't get enough out of the material that you are, focusing on, and that is equivalent to doing no work. That is equivalent to just wasting the time. So I think it's better to just go with the flow. uh, I mean, yes, you have to have some sort of control checks, right? I mean, you have to have some checks and balances in place so that you don't waste your whole day. But again, it should not be a lot, right? I mean, you have to be interested in what you are doing. So if you feel that at this point I want to do this, you should obviously go forward and do it. But this is absolutely not to say that whole day I just play mobile games or use social media and that sort of thing. You have to have that mindset that, okay, I'm going to do work, but I'm not going to do work in a very regimented fashion. I'm going to do it as I feel I am comfortable doing.
All right. How did you prepare for your interview, and can you describe your interview experience?
Yeah. So my interview, how did I prepare? So again, it's a very interesting question. I think uh, I told you that skill building is it's a lifelong game, right? And let's say being able to learn, being able to speak fluently, or being able to think on the feet, being able to speak eloquently. These skills can't be developed over a fortnight. It happens. The more you speak, the more you engage with people, the more you socialize. So I think for me also it was probably similar. I was really interested in the world. I would always like talking to lots of new people, various people. So I think that really made it. I did not have any discomfort when I was facing an unknown stranger, let's say. So I think that kind of conditioned me to the settings of an interview where you have to face totally new people. And again, the engagement of the with the world really matters, right? They may ask you anything, and to be able to think on the feet, you have to have that sort of uh, you know that sort of engagement with the with whatever you have done in the past. So I think I was kind of engaged with whatever I did on a daily basis. So that helped me. Yeah, in the end, obviously, you have to amp up your academics, and you have to be familiar with all the academic concepts that you had in your class 12. You have to be familiar with all the current affairs and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think the more long term skills of speaking and being able to communicate fluently, that is a more long term and lifelong process.
All right. And can you describe your interview experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So my interview, I remember it was on 6th of August, and I went, and I was a little nervous, obviously, because it was I'm Indore interview finally. So I learned a couple of lessons there. So interview, you have to be prepared for any question, any situation that comes up. And if you go in with a rigidity of the mind, it becomes very difficult to scale that interview. You have to really enjoy talking to and the thing is, you have to really enjoy talking with the interviewers. They are not they don't want conversation stoppers. They want people who are actually willing to have a good conversation with them. You have to know stuff, but at the same time, you have to be engaging. You have to really talk with them nicely. You have to be warm and humble and uh, knowledgeable at the same time. So my interview experience, initially I got a little flustered because both my interviewers were slightly cold. But then I think we went into maths and I was able to answer. So I think it became a little better. Then again, there was I think a small miscommunication between me and one of the interviewers, and he kind of rebuked me a bit. But and my mood really dampened at that point. My confidence really lowered. But I just decided that okay, there's no point crying over spilled milk, and just decided to bring up and answer all the questions with confidence. And after that, yeah, it was like that only. And in the end, I actually went and apologized to him and said that my interview was not perfect, but I hope to use it as a learning experience, take something out of it, and improve myself in the future.
Okay, I think that what you did in the end was something that I feel would have really impressed them, because taking ownership of your drawbacks is a very, very big quality. So I want to ask you now that can you tell us some of the specific questions that they ask you, just if the aspirants are curious? So if you do recall.
Yeah, sure, sure. So from math, I think they asked me a couple of proofs and a couple of questions regarding those proofs. I think Pythagoras theorem was one thing. It was linked with trigonometry, and we slowly ventured into calculus and the use of the first derivative, second derivative, uh, finding the local, the nature of the stationary points, that sort of thing we talked about in maths. In my class 10th, I had taken a course on psychology. So they asked me two questions from psychology. One was about what is neurotransmission, and what are neurotransmitters. I think these are the two questions. Then they went to the territory of current affairs and general knowledge. So that time the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan was happening. So they asked me that what was the northwest province of Pakistan called? What is it called currently? And I did not have any idea about that. So that is where I got that slight bit of rebuke from the interview, one of the interviewers. So that was one. They asked me about what exactly is universal adult franchisee and what are its follies. And the last question was they asked me for any proof that corroborates the fact that or not the fact, but corroborates the that the COVID is a man-made virus and not something that is occurring naturally. So that was the last question that they had for me.
All right. I feel like it was a very interesting interview experience. And
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how do you think UniVoyage helped you? Like, we did interact before the interview, and I had absolutely no idea that I was taking the mock interview of IPMAT Air 1. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Yeah. I have to talk about this. So I remember I had enrolled for the Unit Prep program. I think that was what it was called. Where you were offering mock PIs to all the people who had been shortlisted for Indore and Rohtak. And I think Vedika only took my interview, and it went on for quite some time. She actually tried to make it as long as possible and tried to grill me as much as possible on the different concepts. So yeah, it I think it sensitized me. I think it made me more finely attuned with what actually can come up in an interview. So I think that way, you get some prior exposure. Um, if let's say I'm doing a mock interview with one of my friends, there is some sort of a comfort zone I have with them. I'm not getting out of my comfort zone. But at that point, Vedika was still a stranger to me. We had not interacted a lot prior to that. So I was actually speaking with somebody, and at that point you realize what your weaknesses are, what your flaws are, and if somebody points it out, then you get to work on that very specifically. So I mean, the interview that I gave, it's now out on YouTube, also on the UniVoyage channel. If you see, Vedika gave me a very detailed feedback at the end. So she asked me a lot of questions, and she kept on asking me, "Are you sure?" So I still remember this because she was trying to see whether I was confident of what I was saying or not. And that's an important practice, because in my actual interview also, the interviewers were asking me that, "Are you sure of what you are saying?" So if you are, naturally a very underconfident person, you will stumble at that time. But I was familiar. I was familiar with that. So I think I could cross that hurdle quite easily. And finding your knowledge flaws. There are certain knowledge flaws that everyone has, right? You don't know certain things. I remember I did not know certain economic concepts that Vedika had asked me. So those I could look up. Or let's say in your communication there are certain faults. My own intro was very big in that PI that I gave, the mock PI. So I again cut back on that, and made it more concise. So this very minute analysis that Vedika gave me, that you gave me, that was just astounding, and that I think honed my and sharpened my interview skills, and helped made me come across probably in a more impressive manner in front of the interviewers finally.
Okay, thank you for the kind words. And I just want to say that we've learned a lot about you, like your school and how you carried on the interview preparation, and even your take on how many hours to spend a day and what all resources to use. So I think that was very insightful. And I think this is the first time I'm hearing someone say that they used pre-calculus J material for their preparation. So that's great. My last final question to you is, why did you choose IPM?
Okay, so now this question, okay. So there were a lot of reasons, honestly, for me to choose IPM. So I was always a person. I felt I was more of a generalist than a very specialist sort of person. So I wanted to explore a lot of subjects. I was genuinely interested in learning a lot of subjects. I mean, come on, who is not interested in, let's say, learning economics and learning math and sociology, philosophy? And IPM gave me that heterogeneity in the curriculum. So I think that heterogeneity in the curriculum really appealed to me. And uh, you know, I by keeping this heterogeneity, I think I will have a more broad sphere open to me when I'm finally deciding on what career I want to pursue. Right? If I had, let's say, become a doctor, I had to become a doctor at the end of my degree. Or let's say if I had pursued a engineering degree, I would have had to become an engineer. If I had not given a CAT examination, or some such examination. So I think I did not have that sort of certainty at life at this age, to be honest. So I wanted to keep all the fields open. And I feel I make more of that kind of a generalist person. I really like managing things, whatever small things I've done, I have always enjoyed that. So I think this kind of career will really help me a lot. And finally, I think at the end of the day, when after a certain age, I really want to give back to the community, my small town that I've taken so much from. And having a career in management will probably really help me to that. So I think all of this really propelled me towards choosing IPM in IIM Indore.
That's a very great diverse answer. And do you have any final words for the aspirants? Any advice for them for their preparation to give them, a push through their journey?
Yeah. So I'll talk about something I personally felt. So I was immensely motivated about the IPM course. I mean, I really, really wanted to get in. So, I probably had read every web page within the IIM Indore's website that was there. So I was that interested in the IPM course, and I really wanted to get in. So I think having that sort of motivation, and I was not motivated because I thought that, okay, I'm going to get a great amount of salary at the end of 5 years. I was motivated because I wanted to come here, I wanted to study here. And I think having the right motivation really helps. That pushes you to walk the extra mile when it is needed. If you don't have that sort of motivation, you become a little lackadaisical in your preparation, in the effort you put in. So from all this perspective, I think that having the right motivation really helps. And building concepts, I think that is another thing I'll really focus on, because I have seen that people crack the examination, but I mean, what? Why would you be so myopic and only choose to crack the examination? You are doing this probably a lot of work, but why don't you channelize it in the right direction? Why don't you learn the concept that is really needed? At the end of the day, nobody is going to check whether you know a certain formula or not. But if you can explain something beautifully, if you understand that at a more innate level, I think that really helps. That really makes things much smoother for us. So these are two of the personal advices that I have for all aspirants who are out there.
Okay, thank you so much, Debarnab. I hope you also had some time through this interview to introspect through your journey and look back at it. And I think this was very insightful for all the aspirants also. I'm sure they have great advice now. So thank you so much, Debarnab. This was Vedika Manek and this was UniVoyage. And we'll keep coming up with such videos to keep you guys motivated and to ensure that you have the best advice and the most relevant and recent advice possible. So, thank you. Signing off.